Showdown time. You lose. Ah! Yeah. I seem to be in a bit of trouble. Something like that. Dead. Someone hit him hard. Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. April 20th, 9:37 AM, District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. And hello everyone, Triple S, back with some more Ace Attorney, but now we're playing Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. It takes place after Trials and Tribulations. Actually takes place after Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations, but I'm playing this as well as Ace Attorney Investigations. I think I'm going to play both at the same time, record both at the same time. It's like an alternating upload thing. We'll see how it goes. But this was the first Ace Attorney game I ever watched someone play and got into, so I had no idea Phoenix Wright used to be, an attorney before this game. I just thought it was just a game about Apollo, and then this was the first game, and I didn't know there was stuff about Phoenix Wright before this. But now I know better, and I love Apollo, so let's just jump in. Panicked, palms sweaty, I can admit it, I'm nervous. Ah, good morning. Good morning, sir. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No, I'm loose, I'm fine. That screeching noise, is that your voice? I suppose it's to be expected. Your first trial and it's a homicide. I guess justice doesn't start small, eh? Hey, I'm fine. Got up at 5 AM to do my chords of steel voice workouts. I'm fine. Well, that explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality to your screech. You overdid it again. As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift gotten, sir. I'm all over that drift. As it happens, I dined with him the night of the murder. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much. People might take you the wrong way. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. Who's our client? My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney. And today is my first trial. Not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, of course, and so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him, no way. Hello. Whoa! Da-da-da. Good, morning? Da-da-da. Morning. It's all to you today. First trial, nervous, meeting him, cardiac arrest. Da-da-da. I think I'm supposed to say something, help? So, you're... Fine. I'm fine. Ah, Mr. Fine, is it? I did remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me? Da-da-da. Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney. He's your friend, so why? You'll see. You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you, It's time, shall we? Yes, sir. Okay, I need to focus. First trial, here comes justice. April 20th, 10 AM, District Court, courtroom number 2. The court is now in session, so we've got the same old judge here. prosecution is ready, Your Honour. Hello, Payne. The defence is fine. I mean, ready, Your Honour. Mind going blank. Don't panic. Too late. Your name was Mr. Justice? And this is your first trial? Yes, Your Honour. But I'm fine. Really? Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strained. Yeah, Mr. Gavin? Yes, Your Honour. I was under the impression that you would be heading up this case. That was my intention, yes. However, the defence attorney must always see to his client's wishes. And my client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Well, of course he wants justice. To entrust his case to this greenhorn. Why? I do not exaggerate when I say that you're the best defence attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience. Fine. Does he have CHORDS of steel? Then let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm sorry we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? So huge bombshell right there. The defendant is Phoenix Wright, and you're like, oh my god, what is he doing there? Why is he not wearing his blue suit? Why is he wearing a hat that says Papa on it? I have that badge on his hat, by the way. And why is Gavin being called the best defence attorney around when Phoenix is standing right there? What's happened to him? Why is he not the best defence attorney anymore? What? Anyway. These days I'm merely Phoenix Wright's piano player. Mr. Wright, how could this have happened? I won't speak of it further then. If the prosecution would be so kind to explain the charges, Mr. Payne. To think I saw you enter this room a fresh attorney and now I'll see you leave in chains. So it's the same Payne. The same Payne as we always known. Ah, Winston Payne, subtle as ever, I see. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl Club, a Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him. Wham! On the head, smack, killed him cold. Ah, a customer at the restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was the pianist for the club, it seems. Phoenix Wright's a pianist? This is the weapon that took the victim's life, a bottle of grape juice. Not wine. Grape juice is apparently our defendant's drink of choice. The court accepts the deadly bottle as evidence. Deadly bottle added to the court record. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed in the court record. Make a practice of checking it frequently. Court record. Right, I've heard of that. Use the court record button to look at the evidence so far. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Right, the court record button. Sounds like it's time for some hands-on action. So, the victim was a customer at this restaurant. But just who was this Shaddy Smith fellow? Oh, sorry. Burping. We believe he was a traveller, Your Honour. A traveller? According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, though his place of residence is unclear. And he had some sort of connection with the defendant? That too is unclear at this present, Your Honour. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime. If they'd only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing? That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of piano playing skill, either one. At least not piano playing. Oh, I'll let this photo explain what I mean. As you can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime. Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? That's a crime in and of itself. Indeed, it appears that the defendant has fallen to become the basest sort of criminal. It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim, yet it was only that, a game, in the purest sense, a competition, Your Honour. A competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Come again? The cards on the table had blue backs, Your Honour. I believe the defence was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present, and impress women. That will be our first order of business here then. The find out more about this fatal game of cards. ... Very well, defendants. You will testify to the court about the poker competition held the night of the crime. My pleasure. This is it. My first trial. Here goes nothing. The competition. I'm a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interesting customers over at the poker table. Yeah. The room where we play and the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is, a game. And our customers are happy. A pianist who can't play piano? Better than a defence attorney who can't defend. ... Very well, the defence may begin the cross-examination. Right, Your Honour. My first cross-examination. Don't blow it. Are you alright? You're sweating bullets. Bullets? Where? It's a figure of speech, Justice. Your voice sounds strained and raspy too. My brain feels strained and raspy, sir. You've watched me perform cross-examinations many times. Though you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? What to do? Should I ask Mr. Gallion for a refresher course in cross-examination? No, we're fine. We're veterans that play these games. No need for help here, sir. I think I've got this one covered. I think you better do more than think. You know it or you do not. I'm fine. The cores of steel are ready for battle. My weapons press and present. Find any inconsistencies, any lies in testimony, and reveal them to the court. That is cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it. Inconsistencies? Lies? Phoenix Wright? As if. Phoenix Wright would never lie, and it's up to me to prove it. The defence may begin the cross-examination. Here we go. We've got to press statement 2. To start with. Press. They pay you just to play poker? That would seem to be the case. I am a professional, after all. Bah! Do I detect pride in that statement? It's just hard for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine. Yes, your imagination was always a bit limited, Winston. What? I played poker for 7 years in that little room, and I've never lost once. What? You see why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time? As I said, I'm a professional. He's played poker for 7 years and not lost once. Is that even possible? We press statement 3. We play the competition there, the club's main attractions. That is statement 3, right? Yeah. The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction. It has quite a history, actually. The Borscht Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day. Black market? All in the past, things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays. Suffice it to say that there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right there in that room. A smoky room, gambling hoods, you know? Just looking at this picture makes me feel bad. The bosses gather around the table, cutting deals, safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, a goon keeps watch through the small window. I can practically picture it now. That window does look like it would be good for keeping a lookout, but little else. The room had a few other tricks to it, though it was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. And we press statement 4. 2 decks of cards. A simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards. There's something else I had noticed. In addition to the cards at the table, there are some lying scattered on the floor. Precisely, cards on the table, cards on the floor, each one forming a complete deck. Crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we used 2 types of cards at the club. One deck of cards was red, the other blue. As I recall, in poker you make 5 card hands, can see how it would be easy to cheat. Heh. Yes, a game of hands. Huh? This competition you're talking about? I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right. It was a simple game after all. Are you sure? Huh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room the very moment that the crime occurred. Yet you claim no connection to the crime? Now that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point is against the rules, Your Honour. Of course, I expected to hear a cry of objection from the defence. I completely let that one slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right, there's something I'd like made clear. Namely your connection to the case at hand. I'd like to hear it from you. Sure, why not? Very well, the defendant will amend his testimony. Just one little press. And I've got myself a whole new testimony. I plead silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon. Well, we've got to present this bottle because it bears the defendant Mr. Wright's prints. Boom. So you say you didn't touch the murder weapon. This grape juice bottle? Right. So I said... Something the matter, Mr. Justice? Hehehe. Too bad our new defence attorney never learned how to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see, and it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. Objection! No need to shout, Mr. Justice, I can hear you just fine. Excess yelling can damage the judge's ears, and our case. But what about my cause of steel? Anyway, what's so strange about fingerprints on a bottle in a restaurant? Well, that's true. The prints alone don't prove he did it. Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? But the fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down. Upside down? What does that mean? It means he was holding the bottle inverted. And there can be only one reason for that. Yes. To brain someone with the bottle. Dead. He died. Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worst. Oh? I see no problem, Justice. Huh? The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything, you'll see. Defendants, can you explain your fingerprints on this bottle to the court? I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now. Not very cooperative, are you? This could hurt your case. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason. Objection! Your Honour, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it who reported the murder to the police? Reported? Oh, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright, but still, that... Really? Yes, well, according to the case file, the murder was reported from near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone. Near the scene? Let's take a look at a diagram of the murder scene, shall we? The victim was murdered in a small room in a basement 2 floors down from the ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. The defendant used the stairs in this hallway to go above ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant. I see, and this is the phone that made the call. Right, cell phone adds to the court record. The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he so chose. Yet he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. And you claim he is being uncooperative? Nice save, Mr. Gavin. I'd better not waste this. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being. Toyed? I assure you, no one is more serious about... What was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment that the crime occurred? How can you possibly know this? That's a good question. How indeed? The answer is simple, Your Honour. The prosecution has a decisive witness. Hehehe. You're as good as I say you are. So someone else was in the room the night of the crime. That must mean they witnessed the crime. Everything up till now has been a warm-up, Justice. Are you ready? Very well, the prosecution may call its first witness to the stand. And I already know who she is. The witness will state her name and profession. My stutter was getting in the way then. Hold on just a moment. Where's the witness? I surmise that she has been frightened by the defence's demonic-looking horns. So I used a little hair gel and relax, people. Have no fear, if any horns pointing your direction, this court will cut them off. You are sure? I swear it on my gavel. Please come out. Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honour? Well, if you are sure, it is okay. Ahem. Now, the prosecution. Wait a minute. The prosecution care to explain the witness's, paraphernalia? Yes. She's a professional, Your Honour. Those are merely the tools of her trade. And that would be... My name is Olga O'Reilly. Or O'Reilly. I'm going to say O'Reilly. I'm employed as waitress in Borscht Club Restaurant. Then why the camera? Of course it's my pride to serve borscht at his naming restaurant. But I also perform, how it is said, other service? I take it one of these other services is taking the customers' pictures? Da. Like, for example, this one. That's the defendant? Indeed, on the night of the murder. Man in white hat is one who has gone kaput. Indeed, that is the victim. Uh-oh. Order! This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps. It is same way as I drop cold bowl of borscht on laps of customers, casually. And the court will casually accept this new evidence. Olga's photo added to the court record. Now witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room, the hideout we call it. Excuse me, the hideout? It is room where famous gangster Bad Guy was arrested. It is room where murder took place. What? No look at what a surprise, it is lovely. I will post by courtroom door later for you. Da, photos will be numbered and you will write which ones you want a copy of. So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright and... Olga O'Reilly, our witness. And if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means... Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about that night's events. Dun dun dun. That fateful night. That night, a customer asked me to deal cards for game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. Da. The victim, he played his whole time with his hand on locket at his neck. Then, last hand is done, but something terrible has happened. Da. That man flew at victim, and is strangling him to death. Wait a minute. That's not right. He got hit over the head. Huh? Incidentally, who won the game? Isn't it obvious? The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith. That's ridiculous, because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice? Maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection? And Gavin, can you stop using 6 freaking syllable words that I can't say properly? But he hadn't lost in 7 years. Take it from me, kid, it happens. I didn't lose a case my first 7 years as prosecutor, either. Until Phoenix Wright came along. Incidentally, I have some evidence here. These are the poker chips as they lay the very moment of the crime. Don't the red ones remind you of the, like, mint, like, hard candy things? No, I'm saying candy, I'm British. Hard sweet, I don't know what to call them. The hand and chips on this side belong to defendant, Mr. Wright. Those on the far side belong to the victim, Mr. Smith. Chips, you say? Yes. Imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army, and the chips are the spoils. I know that, after all, in my youth I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3. I think he means poker face. Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Chip's photo as is the court record. Very well, the defence may cross-examine the witness. Okay, we're going to go straight to the point where she says that he's strangling him to death when in fact we know he was hit over the head with a bottle. So she's lying out of a bowl. There's a look at his neck, last time he's done, something terrible has happened. That man flew at a victim, strangling him to death. But that's just not right. Apparently we press it to start with. We don't present anything yet. But the defendant would never do such a thing. Well, no, I can't say I've ever heard the defence try this tactic. If possible, please refrain from embarrassing me. Still, why would anyone do something like this over a game of poker? Perhaps it is because the defendant has lost game? Yes, a crushing defeat for a man defeated. So it always is with men like him, winners make sore losers. Oh, how the mighty fall! Go ahead, I believe you know what it is you need to do. Right, sir, leave it to me. There were only 3 people in the room at the time of the murder. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, I've got you now, really. And we've got to go all the way back to 5. What is it? There we go. I hate that it doesn't just go straight back to the one you were on. It ticks over and goes back to the beginning, and you can't go back. So annoying. Anyway, we present all sorts of report. Oh really? Strangled, you say? That's odd. Our normal customers only choke on borscht. No, I mean this report shows that the victim died of a blow to the head. Ah! Miss O'Reilly, really now, did you witness the crime? Yee! Damn, she's like Spider-Man. Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything. Yes, it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honour. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during our investigation. Well, that's quite shocking, isn't it? His head certainly was hit. Crime photo 2 added to the court record. But I have seen it happen. The defendant, he lunged the victim his neck. Oh really, Miss O'Reilly? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Justice, I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. Well, what do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me. Very well. It seems we should continue the cross-examination. There's such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much too. He could read my mind! We go to statement 3. Locket on his neck. But if we look here, there isn't a locket there. That's weird, don't you think? You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean? Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is you're thinking so intensely about? Recall the testimony, Your Honour. The victim played with his hand on locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to the witness's grammar. No, but look at this photograph. You see a locket on his victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean? If we are to believe this victim's testimony is his, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honour. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off, no? Taken it off? Wait, you don't mean... The defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? Ah! Defendant, what do you have to say to this? ... Say... Yes? I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Oh, you mean this? Yes, it's a locket, with a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter. Oh my god, another bombshell. Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture in the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. ... So Mr. Wright has a locket too? Why don't I buy that this is just a coincidence? Okay, some cats are going crazy outside. Well now, if the results of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear a bit more about the outcome of the game. Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost. Badly. Uh-oh. Miss O'Reilly, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and defendants. Okay. Serious competition. The game began with 3,500 pointing chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, it was victim. For last hand, defendant play with all chips on table and lose. The moment loss was decided, defendant grabs bottle from table and... Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. How many times have I heard these words? I done it in a fit of anger, Your Honour, and now I regret what I done. Common tale, but true. Methinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. I will figure it out. By pressing statement 1 to start with. And press. Are those the usual starting points? Were any special rules used? No, not special. Usual game, usual rules. Each man began with 3,500 points, and the total will be... exactly 7,000 points. Please, this isn't calculus. It's not even long division. Okay, press statement 2. Are the chips in this photo all the chips that we used? Of course. Huh? Something's fishy with these chips. Should I press harder? Press harder. Maybe you could explain a bit about these chips. Explain? What is there to be explained? Calm down, Payne. Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fishing chips, not a chip off your block, not a motorcycle cop, not a... Thanks. Now that I pressed her, I better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles even? Yet, as I've been saying before, it was game, not gambling. How perhaps for capitalist to understand. Jesus Christ, my stutter. 2 types of chip, 100 points chips and 1,000 points chips. It's not money, da. Justice. Sir, don't you find her comments interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony myself. Well, does the defendant want the witness to add it to her testimony? Obviously we add it to the testimony. Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to the testimony. Wish I knew where I was going with this. Very well, witness, if you'd be so kind. Your Honour. One kind of chip is worth 100 points, other kind is worth 1,000. 2 kinds in all. We press this. Mr. Gavin said this testimony is important. To be honest, I have no idea why. Mr. Justice, do the court a favour and think of what you want to say before raising your hand. We are not in kindergarten. Sorry, I'm fine. Better think of something to ask. And quick. The 2 types of chips. The small ones are 100 and the big ones 1,000. Right? Right, of course. Ha! Don't waste our time. Is that all? Yeah. Great, Mr. Gavin made me stop her. Now I'm the one who looks dumb. Oh, Justice. Please try not to embarrass me like that. Huh? Who? Me? There's a clear contradiction in the information you have in your hands. What? It's a simple matter of calculation. Go on, try it. We're not in kindergarten after all. Calculation? Okay, we go back to statement 2A. And we present the chip photo. You sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure. It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the picture is enough to tell you who won, if you're not in kindergarten. Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honour. In this photo I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. Oh, I thought so too, but then the totals don't add up. The totals? Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips, and the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points. Yes, if my calculations are correct. Let's see, 3 plus 1, carry the 5. They are, Your Honour. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up, how much is it? Do it yourself. You aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. But why? How could this be? Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right, there's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. Starting points were wrong, chip count was wrong, both were right. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can be only one answer. But what is it? The value of the chips, or the other way around? What? Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones. Madness utter madness! Show me that photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. Well, that does make 7,000 points when you add them up. Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it. But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing. Indeed, the victim did have the larger number of chips still. Ah! Exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, let's do a little math. Add up the points for each side of the table. The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points and... 4,100 points. Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning. Ah! Now, Miss O'Reilly, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime, weren't you? Take that. Order, order! It appears our defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust the witness's testimony. Excuse me, what is it, Miss O'Reilly? I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see, see what, Miss O'Reilly? What do we see? In the last hand, there was cheat. A cheat? You don't mean a trick? Wait, so do you mean a scam? They're all the same thing. Yes, there was cheating last hand. That is why game ends with chips as they are. Great, just great. First we have lying, now cheating. Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. Really interesting. Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand. Oh, goddamn. The final hand. This might be the final testimony of this part, I think. opening case is actually in 2 parts, which I think is the first of the games to do that. Maybe, I'm not sure. The final hand. Oop, clicking outside of stuff. The last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 of each card in deck from ace to king. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. The next moment, game becomes argument, da. The defendant's trick was exposed. He took bottle in his hand, poor Mr. Smith. Miss O'Reilly, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? I thought I smelled the cover up here. Well folks, it's time to throw back the covers. Full house is a very high scoring hand. Not easy to make in my experience. That alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. Mr. Gavin? What's a full house? Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker. Can't say this bodes well for your case or career. What is this, some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice? You know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. 2 cards with the same number makes a pair and 3 makes a 3 of a kind. Good, now picture a hand with 1 pair and 1 3 of a kind. That's a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? You can see each player's hand in this photo. Wow, they both have full houses. We forget there's an easier way to make a full house, and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat. The defence may cross-examine the witness. If you did cheat in the last hand, that still leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? The final hand. We need to go to statement 3. If you look at both men's hands, press. How was it clear? Well, the defendant, he played a 5th ace. A 5th ace? I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. Mr. Wright's too. Obviously cheating was afoot, or perhaps I should say a hand. Your Honour, perhaps this can be added to the testimony, without Mr. Payne's joke. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony, please. Okay. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces, Mr. Wright's 2. It's 5 aces in all. But wait a minute. If you look, there's only 4 aces. So what's going on here? It appears the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? But my name... Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice, perhaps you want to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your finger to point out your point. Yes, please point out the contradiction in this photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? Okay, yeah. Gotta point out the victim's hand. I'm gonna make sure not to point out this hand. I think it's this hand. Mr. O'Reilly, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. As you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces. Hee! Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question. Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. Where's his 5th ace? I see cheating alright, and it's going on right here in the courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating. Wait, please! It is true, I have seen it, the 5th ace. It was cheating, I swear to you. That's odd. She must be lying, yet she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin? Who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honour, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards. The cards? Mr. Payne? Ah, yes. The player's hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defence would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well, the prosecution will submit this evidence, which you examine. The victim's cards or the defendant's cards. If these cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these hands is more suspicious? We've got to view the victim's hand. It was the victim's hand that changed over the course of the witness's testimony. The defence requests time to examine Mr. Smith's cards. Very well. Mr. Payne, if you would. Very well. Received evidence, victim's hand. Well, time's a wasting. Get to it, Justice. Yes, sir. It's doing it for me. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using the dials on the evidence viewer. That should give you a better perspective on the case. Okay, let's do this. So let's just zoom in and turn it around and... Wait, god damn it. What's this? A blue. What? Your Honour, look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different colour. Eh? Eh? That's impossible. But I put that card in your right hand. Ah! What was that, Miss O'Reilly? No, yet. I merely said, I have eek. Your Honour. Mr. Gavin, yes. Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend. A comrade, shall we say. The dealer. Wait, so you mean... This witness, Miss O'Reilly, she's the cheater. A professional, I'd wager. Order, order! Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. Of her mistake. Your Honour, please recall the testimony we just heard. That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ergo, Miss Olga really conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Or Shady Smith. I keep alternating between Shady and Shady. Whoa! Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean... The defence isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga, really, are you? Time for justice. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident. And if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means... I am. The defence accuses the witness, Miss Olga, really, of murder. Eek! Oh, she's fainted. Bye-bye. Oh, at least the ball was safe, and the lobster inside of it. Mr. Payne, where's your witness, Miss Olga, really? It appears she has lost consciousness, Your Honour. Mr. Justice? Your Honour, it seems you presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mrs. Smith. And that means this court cannot pronounce the verdict for the defendant at this time. What? I did it. I held out. I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. The prosecution will need to make further inquiries. Hello, Phoenix. Mr. Wright. You can't end the trial here, Your Honour. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think, one of the cards had a different coloured back. Don't you wonder what it means? What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous. Mr. Payne, you of all people should know, Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. No, I can't speak. As was said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night. That was said before. The 2 decks at the club have different coloured backs, blue and red. 1 colour per deck. Why use different coloured backs? If we use the same colour, the 2 decks might get mixed. We used different colours and they still got mixed up. We used the red deck for the last game. I see, but that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards. Whatever. In the end, one of the card of the wrong colour got into the mix, which means there was cheating. Yes, a card slipped into the deck would seem to indicate cheating, yet this card raises two serious questions. Apollo? Yes? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are three broad possibilities here. It could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Well, yeah, thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was swapped. Oh? It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne, or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the card swapped into the deck? Obviously it was after the murder. Perhaps it happened after the murder. What's that? Ridiculous! What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly. There's some drilling going on outside. I think the Virgin Media's installing something somewhere. Yeah. Yes, but tell me. How do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. Take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible. Oh? Even when the backs of the cards are a different colour? If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Ah, quite true. That would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown, after the murder. Okay, this is going past silly and straight on to crazy. Ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Who would do that? Who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. But there's another? Yep, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? Who? The game of murder is done. The victim is dead. Only two remain in the room. Alive, that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness. Oh, go really. Okay, so who was it that swapped the red card for a blue? Phoenix Wright? No. Although really? No. Someone else. The one who swapped the cards wasn't Mr. Wright, of course. And, well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga really either. What are you suggesting? It's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As a defence, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss O'Reilly at this point. Yes, I know. But she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong colour card. If the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Oh, my apologies, Your Honour. Just thinking how much fun all this is. Fun? How about confusing? I've no idea who the defence is claiming, Your Honour. What the defence? Who the defence? If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant, and it wasn't Miss O'Reilly, then who was it? Yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that indeed, after the murder, someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand. And that someone made two critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us that the first was swapping the wrong colour card. Because the one who did the swap didn't know two colours of cards were being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right, the person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house. So they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. But there's one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. True, not until now, but you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Though it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night, the scene of the crime. What? I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial is proceeded on one central assumption. Namely that at the time of the incident, there were only 3 people in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption? The problem is that you chose to conceal this information from the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Certainly, Your Honour. Very well. The trial will resume in 20 minutes. April 20th, 11:52 AM, District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim there was another person at the scene of the crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth? Well now, I think you would know the answer to that. Now, being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I have no time for mysteries. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defence in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Christoph. Justice? Yes, sir. The judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. You did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? Ah, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. That's a picture of my daughter in there. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? ... What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago, what I did? It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat. I never, honest, but it is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. Eh? You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like trial law? Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you win. Well, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss O'Reilly. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who'd notice that? Words, habits, twitches. It's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you. But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will soon. Ah, I almost forgot. One more thing. About this case. You should know I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it. I have my reasons, of course, all shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. My, power? I had no idea my cause of steel were that special. It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. To be continued! Split into 2 parts, this starting trial. It's very long. A lot longer than what you'd usually expect from like the opening trial of a game and stuff like that. But yeah, there we go. That's the first part. Phoenix Wright is no longer a defense attorney. Something happened to him 7 years ago, and now he's a really bad piano player, but a very good poker player. And he has a daughter, and someone called Shady Smith, or Shady Smith, how you want to pronounce it, I keep switching, has been killed. There was a Russian waitress, maybe you could say, server, I don't know, who was helping Shady Smith cheat at cards. And Phoenix Wright's being very mysterious towards Christoph Gavin when he was asking, is it the truth that another person was there? And he's like, well, you should know, Gavin. So, very mysterious, and we'll find out all the answers to all these questions. Well, maybe not all the questions, but most of the questions next time. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.